Hello, you're watching Rappler, and I am Bea Cupin. In this episode of Rappler Talk, we will be deep diving into a rare and historic. Sana yung rare part, hindi natin mabanggit the next time we have a Rappler Talk of this kind. Journey into our own waters. That's an oversimplification of what happened, but we will be talking about it a little more later on. The Atin Ito coalition launched a rare civilian mission, again, hopefully, that adjective will be passé in the months to come, to bring supplies and Christmas cheer to soldiers, Philippine Coast Guard personnel stationed in and around the West Philippine Sea, as well as the fishermen who are affected, whose livelihoods are affected in the area. But the reason why soldiers are stationed there, the reason why yung PCG ay parating nasa West Philippine Sea at nahihirapan sa West Philippine Sea, and the very reason why our fishermen have seen their livelihoods put in danger is also why the coalition was forced to eventually turn back China's harassment in our own waters, where we should be exercising our own sovereign waters where we have jurisdiction. So joining us today to talk about the lead up to the journey, not just in the water, no, pero even the journey, the bureaucratic journey on land, and how the coalition and the planned journey came together. Co-convenors of the coalition, we have Akbayan President Rafaela David with us, and Philippine Rural Reconstruction Movement President and Vice Chairperson, Sir Edicio de la Torre. Thank you for joining us this morning. I think kakagaling nyo lang din sa El Nido, no? Fairly fresh from what happened. But siguro before we talk about the backstory of the coalition and the journey, can you walk us through the hours and the minutes before the captain of the MV, Kapitan Felix Oca, eventually made that decision na parang it's time to turn back to El Nido?
She was there.
Yes.
Yeah, siguro, around hapon kasi ito, no, malapit na late afternoon, around 3:40, 3:50, may namataan na kami na ship na malayo, na parang alam namin, masyado siyang malaki, it's probably a warship.
Yeah.
And ang question na lang ay if it's a Chinese warship. And then later on, we radioed the Coast Guard to ask kung they were able to confirm what vessel it is. And they radio back to us. Ang sabi nga ay, ma'am, confirmed, it is a Chinese vessel. It's a Chinese warship, the destroyer, no less. Siyempre, nabahala kami kasi yung direksyon niya papunta sa amin. So, parang magkasalubong. And around 20 minutes, 30 minutes, nalampasan na kami. Ganun siya kabilis. And then, just imagine kami 10 knots. Yung bilis nila, 20, 21 knots. So, twice as fast, and also definitely so much bigger than we were. Tas nasalubong na kami. Sakto, during that time, we were going to have a mass kasama si Father Robert Reyes and Father Mon. So we were celebrating saktong-sakto 4 p.m. And then we were courageously, yung mga volunteers were steadfast. Kumbaga, magkahawa kamay in prayer and in the mass. Maya-maya, may bumulong na sa akin na Ate Paeng, parang may isa pa daw Chinese vessel na papalapit. And true enough, in the horizon, nakita namin may isa pang Chinese vessel na papalapit. And then, narinig na lang namin sa PA system, tinatawag na ako ni Kapitan na, si Ma'am Paeng, punta ka sa bridge. Ganun sila. So ako naman, takbo ako. Medyo malayo yung bridge from the deck eh. Tapos pagdating doon, ayun na nga, na parang si Cap ay napansin niya may dalawa pang vessel. May isang warship, may isang Chinese Coast Guard, and then meron pang, sa malayo, unconfirmed, parang cargo ship. And then may several ships pang nandoon na namamataan sa radar. And then he was saying na yung Chinese Coast Guard, hindi lang papunta sa general vicinity namin, hindi yung pasalubong lang. Parang nag-change course siya na talagang directly almost kumbaga parang babanggain kami. And we have pictures of that, some of the volunteers we had. So the picture na talagang tumatapat sa amin directly yung Chinese Coast Guard na vessel. Kaya si Cap, during that time, talagang nag-decide nako, baka magka-collision pa. So it's time to go. And that's the judgment that the captain did during that time kasi medyo mabilisan.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a long, sige, before we jump on that, it was just to lay the premise, it was a long journey.
Yeah.
Just to sail from El Nido. Maybe you can talk about siguro yung origins muna, like paano na-envision itong civilian mission to the West Philippine Sea.
Yan, si
When
Father.
I always keep getting, I don't know, it's so many conversations. I
Yeah.
don't know at what point nag-crystallize, but I clearly remember at one meeting held at the Philippine Rural Reconstruction Movement that we already had Akbayan people, NGOs, and the so-called creative community.
Artists.
Talagang bright. Sige, tuloy natin. But what? So initially we thought, okay, preserve close to the heart of PRM. Madali yun. Then next, Coast Guard, kasi kawawa naman sila as a service tulungan. Well, of course, someone says, pero BRP ang symbolic eh. Kaya, problema ka talaga sa billings, sa mind of you. Yun ang naging top. So initially, ganun. And then, I remember when we met with the Coast Guard afterwards, said, oh, thank you, we appreciate it. But at some point towards it, have you written a letter to the task force West Philippine Sea? Is there such a protocol? Because it's a civilian, restricted yan, kailangan ko. So we wrote a letter, except that we didn't quite get an answer, and then we already had our second press conference. No?
Yes.
And then they issued a press statement. Was it discouraging us or would ask you not to? So we sought a meeting. And, I remember the initial parang friendly kantsawan. Ba't naman kayo nag-press release? Nag-press con kayo eh. Okay, usap tayo.
Yeah.
It's interesting because 1 hour and a half meeting. Medyo formal eh. Sabi namin, kami lang tatlo ron sila. And at the end, we arrived at an agreement. Say, okay, hindi na bawal pumunta sa yung initial, pwede na yan. Pero huwag na niyong ipilit yung
BRP mismo.
Although originally sabi, not even ayong initial, doon na lang kayo sa iba. O kalayaan. Sabi namin, ayong
Even wanted Pag-asa Island,
or
right?
even that. But
Initially,
sabi nga, the symbol, the point is ayong initial. BRP, sabi nga, the compromise was kahit hanggang waving
Nagkakailan
hands
tayo
lang.
sa mga
ganun.
BRP.
So that was it. No? And so we planned, and we didn't realize when we already was talking to the captain, ang layo pala, komplikado.
Charting the route.
So I think the first change was when, not just Scarborough, but when yung water cannon sa patungong BRP. So the immediate response was, pwede ba wag nang ayungin? And we said, hindi, dapat kasama ayungin. So compromise, unahin niyo ang lawak, it's safer, hindi controversial. Little did we know. And then pabalik
Daan
ang ayungin. What turned out is patungo pa lang lawak and mga halfway through pa lang eh.
Yeah.
Suddenly this, warship, sabi ko, ano ba yan?
The destroyer, di ba? Talagang intimidating.
Overreaction or maybe we're more important than we thought. I really don't know. Because we were in, for a while, we couldn't communicate between base and ship. But eventually, it got settled and well, in the end, we said, I used to say that when a plane is in the air and when a ship in the sea, ang kapitan, ang king, kahit anong gawin mo, unless you want to mount a mutiny. Which I don't think we're ready to. So, well,
We trusted his
reluctant
judgment.
pa rin, as we said, nuanced language. We did not quite agree, but we respected.
The captain.
Because really, on their side, the Coast Guard were saying, we could have pushed a bit more. But then, you're Coast Guard. The captain said, I'm civilian. I don't have any. Although he did have experience in, not militarily dangerous, but because
Humanitarian
he was one of the early responders of bringing relief goods to Yolanda affected area. So interesting. Marami pang kwento mangyayari dyan. But tense talaga. Tense yung
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
Ang naka-recover lang ng konti, I don't know whether I'm jumping the stories. Yung mabuti nung gabi, nasabi, nakalusot ang chow eh.
Oo nga.
Ay, salamat naman.
Mission
Parang,
accomplished na rin, yes.
no,
Kasi
not
nakarating.
quite. Then people started putting sabi ko na, a more, dramatic spin to it that, or akala nila, pinlano natin talaga, nilansilag yung malaki, lulusot yung maliit. Sobra naman, but we're willing to get credit for
Hail
that.
Mary na lang din yun, sir, na makalusot yung
Kasi,
smaller
well,
vessel.
later we found out that when you were meeting at the ship, you were saying, sana, pero ang sabi nga na parang suntok sa buwan eh. Sana makalusot. Turned out, I think it was meant to be because ang hirap naman kahit isa wala. Puro dadaan lang. We wanted to have something physically turned over.
Yeah.
And I think Lawak was a good target because yun na nga ang sabi ng task force before. Huwag namang laging yung bida ang pupuntahan nyo. Yung mga maliliit na hindi masyadong kilala, bigyan na rin nyo. So I think perfect that Lawak received physically the packages we delivered.
For the context of our viewers, although like you pointed out and the NSC and then the NTF, WPS pointed out, yung pinakasikat, yung BRP Sierra Madre, but we have several outposts actually in the West Philippine Sea. Kasama na rin doon yung Pag-asa Island na there is a civilian community, pero yun yung sobrang layo na talaga. It's actually beyond our EEZ already. Interesting to me yung anecdote mo about how there was joking when you met with the NTF WPS. Were you surprised that it wasn't quite it wasn't a hard no? Or was it a hard no from the very beginning?
Well, they were tense, but I know personally si Jonathan.
Oo na, magkakilala pala sila.
Uy, ka na. Then I said, ba't naman kayo nag-press? Nag-press con kayo eh. So, ganun kayo. You know, well, we call that in our post-86 culture, yung friendly heckling. It's a culture of activists that we are trying to recover kasi sobrang grim and determined everything. But I do not know whether the security forces appreciate heckling.
Take it back to the personal.
No, because in Sikuluyang Filipino, the one way we soften the possible visitor personally on hot issues, dinadaan muna sa biro. And then after biro, saka lambing, saka tampo.
Then you answer them.
I think it went well because of that. But I think they were also appreciated because, there's a default mode in the security, wondering whether these people with activist background have other plans than what they're telling us.
Yeah.
And I think they were pleasantly surprised to say, no, this is one of the few cases where we're aligned with the government. No?
That's true.
Because normally they would expect that we would have a distance, separate thing. So I think, in fact, I feel personally looking back, that in addition to the mission itself, that is one of the interesting breakthroughs we had. Still fragile, but I thought we could build it. No? We'll see.
I was gonna ask you, what do you think eventually? Kasi like even actually si Assistant Director General Malaya nga, when we were talking to him, he felt very sure that no, like this is too dangerous. What do you think made him change his mind also?
I think nung nag-meeting kami, nakita rin talaga na there's a lot of common ground. And specifically, halimbawa sa Coast Guard, sa frontliners, grabe rin yung feeling of, sinusuportahan kami ng ordinaryong mga mamamayan. And for them to feel na there's broad support, not just from government, but also from civil society, artists, business sector. I think may malaki rin yung kumbaga lumalakas lalo yung loob nila to be at the front lines. And if there's something that I learned actually from this mission, na nabanggit ko rin actually dun sa mga medyo naging kaibigan na rin natin sa Coast Guard because of this, na ibang level yung tapang nila na halos araw-araw nilang kaharap ang China. Na syempre hindi natin nakikita yon, pero sila nandun. Nandun lang kami like how many hours, days. But for them, that's part of their daily routine. Nakaharapin yung China. At sobrang nakakabilib, hands down. Ang galing nung mararamdaman mo yung tapang na kailangan nilang panghawakan. And I think really rallying people around them and all of the other frontliners really also gives a lot of kumbaga napapalakas din natin yung loob ng mga kasama natin sa front lines.
Now, I'm gonna ask you a question that people ask me all the time when they find out that I covered Aurora, the one in November. Of course, we all read yung reports from journalists from the PCG of parang there were 48 vessels, 44 Chinese ships versus the 5 that the Philippines deployed. You read about the collision, you read about the water cannoning, but I found that it's different when you're actually there. So I want you to walk us through to like, how did it feel that you're, in the middle of this huge ocean, in the middle of nowhere essentially? At least nga sa inyo may connection pa kayo sa internet at that point, no? But like, how did it feel to actually, like, when you first saw a gray ship in the horizon and then you found out may possible militia ships pa pala, may CCG din, threatening to cut across the path of the ship?
Iba rin pala talaga, no? Kasi nakikita mo sa pictures na nilalabas nila, yung water cannon, tapos yung swarming. Pero pag nandun ka na, magugulat ka dun sa, yung parang with your bare eyes, makikita mo gaano kalaki yung ship nila. You don't even need binoculars. Nagdala kami ng binoculars kasi baka hindi naman namin makikita. Pero yung makita mo dun na, ikaw ang bitbit mo, mga regalo, Christmas gifts, sila ang dala nila, kanyon. So parang medyo ang laki ng disparity.
Literally, may bilin lang naman kayong dala.
Exactly. Meron pa kaming nativity scene, di ba?
Nothing less threatening than a bilin.
May 3 kings.
Oo, may 3 kings pa. Yun talaga yung nilagay namin sa harap para kita nila na it's a Christmas convoy, di ba? So, ibang level yung ramdam mo yung tense emotions ng mga tao. Lalo na even yung mga kasama sa ship, yung crew, yung volunteers. And at the same time, pag nakita mo sa radar, so syempre makita mo sa radar yung mga ships nagsusulputan, parang dumadami sila. Kasi may mga ibang unidentified pa. So yung pakiramdam na parang ilan lang kayo, tapos sila ang dami nila. Mararamdaman mo din talaga siya. But again, it's also that mix of emotions na on the one hand, yung takot hindi naman mawawala, pero ramdam mo rin talaga yung lumalabas yung Filipino spirit na parang bakit tayo yung pinapaalis? Dapat tayo yung may karapatan dito. So, even yung mga young volunteers namin, kasi kami nasa bridge na eh. Later on, nakita ko yung videos ng mga volunteers. They were really, some of them were indignant, crying, why are they doing this to us? So, lumalabas talaga yung sense of you want to stand up against someone who's bullying you, and you feel parang yung pakikiisa, sense of solidarity lalo na dun sa mga talagang yun nga araw-araw nararamnasan yun.
Yun yung interesting to me, parang the tears that were shed weren't so much sadness or disappointment lang, but it's really like an indignant anger na siguro it's hard to believe that, I can't believe this is happening to me. Kasi iba rin kasi, di ba, to read about the PCG saying what's being done to them. But it's different when it's you there physically. Tsaka ang hirap kasi ang hirap ang hirap ng biyahe sa dagat, di ba?
Totoo. Kaya sobrang bilib yung PCG. Kasi pag nakita mo yung ship, even yung Chinese Coast Guard, mas malaki sa Coast Guard natin, di ba? Pero nung naririnig mo sa radyo yung PCG Melchora Aquino, they were saying, ma'am, proceed. Punta kayo dito sa port side namin. Parang sinasabi nilang, punta kayo sa likod namin para poprotektahan namin kayo. That's basically what they were saying, di ba? Tapos parang, pag tinignan mo sila, tapos tinignan mo yung Chinese Coast Guard na napakalaki, parang mararamdaman mo rin yung fairness tong PCG, talagang yung sense of we will protect you, even if they know na madambukala yung kalaban. Mabibilib ka rin talaga, tapos lalakas yung mo rin, yung kumpiyansa mo na matapang ang mga Pilipino. Hindi tayo magpapatinag, magpapabuli sa ganong klaseng higanting bansa.
I just wanna deep dive into what was going through your own mind. Yung nga parang, I mean, you had all these voices. You had the PCG saying, "Ma'am, kaya natin to, atin to." I mean, like, they were promising you na kaya natin, like, you just maneuver this way or whatever. But then, of course, you had the captain saying na, this is too dangerous at this point. So what was going through your head?
Wow.
And what was home base, I guess, also saying at the same time?
Nalaman nila parang naka-U-turn na. Pero yung moment na yon, sobrang grabe rin yung intensity kasi nasa bridge kami. Si Kapitan, nung una kinausap pa niya yung Melchora, pero parang ayaw niya nang kausapin kasi nag-uutos na siya sa crew niya. Samantala ako yung nagre-radio sa Melchora Aquino. Sir, sabi ni Kapitan, babalik na po. Ano pong advice nyo? Sabi niya, ma'am, proceed tayo, proceed. Samantala si Kapitan, no, final na. Babalik na tayo. So magkaiba sila ng sinasabi. So medyo, sabi ko, paano kaya ito? Kaya sila ng gustong gawin. Feeling ko na nakuha yun on camera na parang, alam mo yung parang hindi mo alam because you're in between a rock and a hard place. Kasi
And two experts.
Two experts, exactly. So parang in my head, sa dulo, si Kapitan yung may control ng buong ship. Nasabihan niya na yung buong crew niya. Yung alam na mobilize niya na hanggang dun sa nasa engine, etc. So parang, okay, good luck sa amin.
Yeah.
So medyo medyo mabilisan talaga. But of course, you put faith in the people around you. You put faith in the master of the ship. Just as much as you put faith in the Coast Guard. That sa dulo, magtatagpo to uli. Kasi may mga judgment calls talaga na magkaiba. But we knew na united naman kami. We want to keep everyone safe.
Of course.
And we want to show China na we're united and that this mission is at the end of the day may isang kwento at yun ay yung West Philippine Sea ay atin. And I think yung ganong faith na hindi kahit na si Kapitan bumalik na, hindi kami papabayaan ni Coast Guard. And true enough, talagang sinamahan kami until sa makauwi kami, makabalik kami. At take note, yung time na yon, sinusundan pa kami ng Chinese Coast Guard hanggang umaga. Umalis kami, nag-U-turn mga around 4:30 na, magpa-5. Nung marami nang nangyari. Pagdating ng 5 a.m., akyat ako sa bridge. Nandun pa na yung Chinese Coast Guard, sinusundan kami. So, alam mo yung,
They really will make sure that you're out.
In-escort din kami. But, of course, the Coast Guard was, again, still there, making sure na, no harm will be coming to the mothership.
Siguro, sir, yung...
I just want to say na kasi, siyempre, ikot, anyway, decision. Pero siyempre, downer, no? Tapos dumating yung evening na, yung balita nakalisod. Sarap sana yung balita. Pero wag na lang, baka bumuelta yung Chinese sa sulin.
For the safety of the show.
So we reported it only breaking news 5 o'clock in the morning. Kasi nakalanding na. So, pero when sinabi nga sa atin na nung nalaman, at least kahit paano may isa nakalisod. Kasi ang worry ko when something gets frustrated, baka mamaya we start blaming one another. Bakit ikaw? Sabi ko, watch out siguraduhin natin na walang sisihan because
kasi alam natin kung sino ang kaaway dito. Ang kaaway dito ay China.
At saka mali na pinag-usapan natin naman na, hindi ba? Very open tayo. Hindi tayo magsisik ng confrontation. Wala akong problema kung matras o umiwas. Depende na nga sa judgment ng mga... Wala naman sa ating marunong magpatakbo ng vapor.
Kung marunong siguro tayo, baka...
Di-joke nga ako nung isa kasi alam niya activist ako, kung ikaw kapitan, anong gagawin mo sana? No? Don't ask me what could have mahirap. Kasi babalansin mo lagi yung consideration. Kasi when I was TESDA, we used to have this SOLAS, safety of lives at sea. And they always tell me, Ed, ship is number 3. The first is tao, cargo, ship. Yun ang but I guess for the captain, the ship and the people are closely connected. Pag nadali yan. Sabi ko na nga, would you, parang ano ba yun? Pakonsuelo na lang na, thanks China for doing it in the afternoon when there is sun. They did that at night.
That's true.
It would have been more scary.
Different kind of danger.
And there would be no coverage. Wow. I don't know.
And
Was that deliberate or just a matter of their speed? But it was good that it happened. And then, who would have thought, itatime mo pa sa Sunday Mass? Ang joke ko nga kay Father Robert, taimtim siguro ng panalangin ng lahat. Sabi, wala nang nakikinig sa sermon ko kaya pinapunta ko na lang sa, kayo tumingin. Wala nang kaya, it's the shortest homily on record, sabi niya. Shorter than the Pope's, prescription na 8 minutes maximum.
You kind of answered this a little kanina, but like maybe people are wondering, so what is our why? Like, I mean, kita naman natin, the PCG dutifully escorts the smaller military contracted ships. Kasi again, we do not send, as a matter of precaution, on the Philippine government side, we don't send gray ships to Ayungin Shoal. Kasi nga, ang tense na doon. So the BCG takes on the cudgels of protecting the smaller vessels. The same weekend that you sailed in Baho de Masinloc naman, winoter cannon din yung BIFAR. Diba? It was also a humanitarian mission. It wasn't a military operation or a security operation at all. So why, I mean, all the difficulties that you went through in logistical planning, in convincing the NSC that, to green light, to support this mission like this, why go through all this effort?
Naniniwala kasi kami na, alam mo yun, grabe yung the work and the love and the care and the sweat na pinasok dito para lang matuloy at successfully makapag-deliver. We think that's all worth it kasi it will be even more costly pag tuluyan nang mawala sa atin yung West Philippine Sea. So at the end of the day, this is again upholding our territorial integrity, our right to the West Philippine Sea, yung karapatan natin maglayag sa sarili nating tubig, at tayo ay isang bansa na nasakop na ng maraming mga higanteng bansa. Time and time again, we've shown that we will not stand down against bullying. And I think at the end of the day, ang klaro naman yung mensahe. We're doing this dahil ang West Philippine Sea ay atin. At kasama doon yung pakikiisa din natin sa mga kapwa Pilipino natin na pinaka-apektado ng nangyayari.
So, sa akin, what's most valuable is, kasi malinaw na naman na yung, at least, the government stance is okay ngayon compared to dati. Pero government lang yan eh. Citizens, do we just watch? And or do we do it because parang ano ka na lang, rara ka sabihin. Ito, independent eh. To the point na doon tuloy ang gobyerno, sigurado pa tayo naka-align. But so, I think when I was asked that, sabi ko, well, and I said na, I might have also disagreed if I was there, pero okay na yung umatras eh, because ang aking reference dyan eh, nung may batang aktivista, tapos una pa lamang na kukonvince yung estudyante mag-rally, tapos nabatuta agad, hindi na yung susunod, hindi na yung sasalin sa susunod, o gusto mamundok na. So ang idea ko, if you see this as part of a more long-term process of educating people, but education can be very bland, seminar, work, when there is an action, then people are, ba't yung ginawa? Then the debate goes deeper. Ba't mahalaga pa talaga ito? And all that. So I think, in that sense, the mission is very successful because ngayon, pinag-uusapan ka at tinatanong ka. Including sabi, sa susunod sali naman kami.
May mga
at may iba naman sabi, tamo na, baka mali yung ginamit nyo. Hindi dapat malaking boat, baka na-overestimate. Dapat maliliit lang. So, marami ng advices, So, because in the end, there's so many issues affecting us, crowding our limited space. When you have something that is both emotional and has a needed intellectual, deeper discussion, I think for activists like us, maganda kasi I also tend to err on the side na, parang pag-usapan mo na, boring. Lalo na mga bata, sabi, tatay, ikli-iklian mo ang iyong So I think, I call it a communicative action has its own value, but then, wagamat some of the younger people, sobrang namang drama. Gusto, maganda namin yung water cannon. Kako mag-practice lang kayo sa Pindyola. Dito. Because yun ang magiging news. The news should be, pwede pala ang civilian, pero maraming risks. What is specific to the civilian? Ako naman, hats off to you, sabi ko nga, from a very senior person to, senior millennial. So, ang maganda yung point ni Paeng na, we should normalize civilian activity in what is ours. It should be normal. Sabi ko, bakit sabi niyo magpapaluso ka sa sarili mong lugar? That's the reality. So I think they call later, I don't know whether I pick it up right, na even AFP Chief of Staff Drowner said, encouraging different civilian groups to do different activities. including some, and pwede ba mag-sports fest? Pwede ba when I was asked, I think it was from, I don't know which one, I said, no, Atin Ito can be a very broad topic. Na, kung gusto nyo, hindi lang isa, we'll organize main activities, but you can take different initiatives. The whole point is civilian or citizens' initiatives to express, first of all, Atin ito eh. So, let's do something there that is peaceful naman, no?
Yeah.
And for me, also, the other angle, ano rin yan eh, may message rin to ourselves. Kung atin ito, di pangalagaan natin. Hindi lang yung ipagtanggol. As I said, look, we criticize the Chinese for supposedly destroying the corals.
Yes.
Maybe some of us do it also, better, or destructive fishing. So, may implication. May isang akong kaibigan sabi, may na-pick up ako sinabi sa isang forum. Cute. Ano yun? Yung mahirap ipagtanggol ang hindi mo pinapahalagahan. Wow. Parang mahalin mo muna, yung appreciate it. So, okay. May siya na sana, parang whole point is, yung sabi ng Coast Guard nga, hindi lang kami protecting the safety of fisher folk, yung environment natin, kasama ng mission nila. Sa akin, that's the more long-term worry ko, because masisira na yan eh. And the fisher folk, like in Masilok, yung nagkwento sa atin, they used to fish in one day, quota na. More than a week ngayon, hindi makakuha because talagang depleted na. So,
And they have to sail farther and farther
So I think the whole point, because that's part of civilian livelihood, trade, and all that. So, kaya in that sense, yes, may specific edge yung Ayungin Shoal because may BRP. But if we can have other missions and activities na walang direct relationship to the security angle, but asserting, atin ito eh. Ano ba, pag atin ito, hindi lang pangangalanan, pwede tayong mabuhay dahil dyan, pwede magtulungan. So, there's a potential, I personally feel, as an educator. As a by the way, I think the good news is, di ba na-appreciate rin sa ating usapan na nakakuha tayo ng suporta sa simbahan, especially with Bishop Pabilio, whose art vicariate is there, and even Bishop David. So sabi nga nila, sige, pagtulungan natin to educate, lalo na the Catholic Education Association, bubuksan yata sa ating mga... Pero again, you can have opening, but maybe the message will all be boring. I think what happens, because may ganyan, uy, kwento naman, ano nangyari talaga? Ano pwede? I think yun ang value na.
It becomes a people-to-people thing. No? But that's a good point that you remind us, sir, na when we say that may sovereign waters natin yan, may sovereign rights tayo, it's not just the right to exploit, but it's the responsibility to protect what's there and what's left. I'm sorry, kasi diba parang we have heard from the PCG itself, widespread coral destruction because of the militia, mostly.
Yeah, and also for non-government organizations like PRRM Development. And you sabi ko, well, after this, siguraduhin natin, if we have resources and people, seryosohin na natin ang work with the coastal communities, no? Hindi pwede naman gusto nyo, paano yung gumigimik lang ba kayo, ganyan. So, hindi ganyan. Not at all. The last of our ideas. No? But I say, for communication purposes and interest of people in going deeper into it, magandang meron kang action na calls attention. Uy, maganda ito. So, nabigla ako, there are people who I haven't heard of for 2 decades. Nag-text lang, sali kami sa susunod. Wow. It's like, well, we knew it was important. We didn't realize it would be seen as even more significant by others, no?
So you didn't expect also yung kumbaga the breadth of support that you got.
I suppose when we were starting, makikita mo paunti-unti, you have artists coming in, you have Team Manila, you have PETA. So parang when we were mounting it, medyo nararamdaman mo na talagang, uy, may
it was building up.
May build up. And we're hoping to maintain that momentum. Kasi nga, sabi nga ni Father Ed, we want na this is not the only civilian supply mission, it's an inaugural one, first time. So next year uli, because we want to normalize and regularize ordinary Filipinos accessing their own waters.
Yeah.
So talagang ano siya, sabi mo rin kanina, sana hindi rare.
Yeah.
Dapat hindi rare tong ganito. Dapat
Yeah.
tuloy-tuloy lang tayo. We strategically increase our presence in the area kasi kung sino yung nakaka-enjoy ng katubigan natin, siya rin talaga yung kumbaga magugulat na lang yung China, ang dami na dyan, may nagsusport fest na, may nagde-date na sa West Philippine Sea. Diba? So again, we also normalize ordinary citizens accessing our waters.
Di ba yung isa, I remember, yung isang may yate, gusto ko sumali. Pero sabi niya, ay, December, nasa Europe na ako.
So, but that means to say we are planning another one by 2020, in 2024, as early as now. Like
Well, the first time we talked to the Coast Guard, sabi nila, nice, we appreciate Christmas. We asked her, but it's not the best time to travel
kasi the
there.
waters are quite rougher,
Yeah,
right?
summer
And-
is better. So even there's a summer, anyway, Valentine. But then I talked to someone, I said, Ed, kalimutan mo, Pasko ng pagkabuhay. Ay, Easter! Pwede! And even maybe better because a little bit further because February, kahit post-Valentine, baka
Lapit-lapit,
ano pa. At saka to maintain, it's a mix of religious and secular kasi maliban sa Belen may Santa Claus. So ito ngayon, bahala na, may Valentine at saka Pasko ng Pagkabuhay. Yung Valentine cute dahil pwede i-revive the 60s slogan na we make love, not war. Kasi I think part of our message also not asserting our sovereignty, but we want a peaceful settlement of this. Well, not even settlement, a peaceful discussion, negotiation. Mahirap namang mag-peaceful kung ini-intimidate. Mahirap makipag-usap sa ano. Yeah.
Interesting. We'll be looking forward to that. Hopefully nga, hindi na applicable yung adjective na rare. And then talking about non-PCG, non-AFP, non-BFAR even, journeys to different features in the West Philippine Sea, including the controversial ones, but even the ones that aren't quite controversial. Hopefully, hindi kumalat yung flashpoints ng tension sa West Philippine Sea, no?
Well, unfortunately, we control only half of that.
Yeah.
We do not know what is on the side of China. Are they overreacting? They're interpreting everything we are doing here in their larger geopolitical as beyond our control. But we are not naive. We have to look at that because otherwise, wala naman kaming plano dyan. Ba't nyo kami iniipit? Sorry ka na lang Maliit nga ang kwento natin. May mas malaking kwentong nag-i-evolve. And I think that's what makes it interesting. We might have our specific narrative and stories, but interconnected yan and others interpret it. The one I like least, there was an earlier report, classified tayo na China is preparing to meet this Christmas convoy of a Philippine ally. Hindi man lang kami binigyan ng sariling initiative. Parang ano plano ng US? Ano plano kayo?
Yeah. It's not always the alliance playing into it. It's interesting kasi next year, well, experts have called 2023 nga a game changer, especially with how yung strategy, yung number of deployments that the PCG, the Navy has made in the West Philippine Sea. And I'm curious to see if in 2024, baka civilian involvement will be hopefully a game changer. Even as, unfortunately, the tensions seem to intensify. Thank you so much for your time today. I know it's been a crazy, 3 months of planning? 2 months? Or at least yung in-announce nyo the first time, no? We do not know the...
Yeah, roughly.
Diba? It was announced in October, was it? Or September?
The first press con.
Was
But I
in
think we were planning
September,
5, 6 months.
because I remember we had that forum at PRRM. Because it started at the form defined of PRRM. Before Atin Ito, our meme was Mana Natin.
That's true.
Maritime and Archipelagic Nation ng Pilipinas. And it's our heritage.
Yeah.
But then Atin Ito mas... maganda yung Atin to because I didn't realize when I was sa Tagalog kasi, ours has two versions Amin ito, that means focus agad sa labas. Atin ito, tayo muna mag-usap. No? Kaya I think we are focusing first on our internal conversation about atin nga ba ito. Then, amin ito.
And every Filipino can say it, atin ito.
Yeah. So, I personally, as someone who covers the West Philippine Sea, look forward to increased, wider civilian involvement. in terms of the discussion, not just the discussions actually, but also yung physical presence in the West Philippine Sea. Again, thank you for coming here. I know it's been a difficult and tense, especially for you, past few days, months of planning and hard work leading to the mission. Thank you for watching. For more updates, not just on Atin Ito, but on the West Philippine Sea in general, tuto kayo sa Rappler. We will be, obviously, closely following developments, hopefully less of China harassments in the West Philippine Sea. This has been Beko Pin. Thank you for watching.
Okay.